Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 7 of my model time-lapse videos, and in this video we're going to be doing a MiG-21, specifically the Academy 1/48 scale MiG-21, and I used model maker decals. It's sort of a cottage industry business in Poland to do it up as a Polish MiG-21. I didn't do a specific airframe, I can't really show you what aircraft I picked. I mean, it's going to look like this. This is what it looks like when it's completed. But as for the actual aircraft number, I just basically had my wife pick a number she liked, a 4-digit number that she liked, and I went with that. So it's kind of a fictional one, but it is what it is. So overall, the build wasn't too bad. It is an older kit. It is lacking in some details. A little bit soft here and there, and but overall it went together quite well. Very happy with how it finished up, and so here we go. Time-lapse build of a 1/48 scale Academy MiG-21. And as always, my name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation.
So here we go, starting the MiG-21 build, and as usual I went ahead and began with the cockpit. That's a pretty standard procedure when it comes to aircraft, and you'll see I painted the cockpit with that weird Russian greeny blue color. I don't even know if there's an official name other than Russian cockpit green blue. So I went ahead and painted it up with that, did all the weathering, the detailing, and got everything put together.
we are. Quick status update on the MiG-21 construction. As I'm sure you've been seeing, we've got the cockpit assembled, painted, weathered. It's glued into the side of the fuselage. The nose cone painted the dark green. I've masked it off now and glued it into the fuselage just to make life a little easier for me down the road. You'll see in a couple of seconds why I did that. And I've also got the inside here of the tail section, as well as the nose around the intake painted silver, as well as the exhaust itself is painted this alclad burnt metal. There's not a lot of detail in this, you're not going to see much, so I figured this was an okay way to do it. So it's ready to basically be glued together. And also I've got the nose gear doors and the main gear doors. I installed those now while it was easy to work. So as you can see, it fits together quite nicely. Not a lot of seams to clean up. A little bit of work here needs to be done, but not a whole lot to clean this thing up. It's going to be painted in an aluminum paint, not an alclad metallizer, but an actual aluminum paint. The real one was painted with an aluminum lacquer, so it actually is more of a actual aluminum paint. Just something you see with this, a non-metallizer paint, is all I'm going to be doing. So it doesn't need to be quite as clean a job to make it look good. So you can see the inside of the tail cone, pull up to the light here, was already painted the aluminum color. So when you look in, you see the aluminum on the inside as well as the exhaust, and the same in the nose. The inside lip I painted aluminum, and then let's zoom in here a little bit so you can see. So as you can see, the inside of the lip was painted aluminum. Focus. There we go. The inside lip was painted aluminum. So when you look in, you have a little bit of color with the green, and then again with the tail, it was painted aluminum. And then when you look in, you get to see a little bit of that exhaust piece that's in there. So you can look inside and see the exhaust. But then there's still that metal on the inside of the fuselage. The outside of it will be painted in an alclad metallizer, both the front and the back, and that is why I masked the nose cone the way I did, because I'm going to have to stuff some Kleenex into this hole to keep the inside masked, and then the gloss black and the metallizer on the outside, and this was the easiest way to mask this cone. And then it's going to be easy to get into the pair of tweezers and pull this masking out at the end. So that is the current status on this. While I painted the nose cone green, I also painted the tail and the ventral strake green as well. So this green area will be masked off and then painted the aluminum color. And then you can already see how the tail fits on, and then there's a spine that connects the two. So this green will be masked off, the aluminum will be painted, and then I've got those green antennas painted, masked off. So it's not much left to go. There's going to be a bit of cleanup here along the nose where the nose gear doors don't quite line up. So once it's glued together, a little bit of putty, a little bit of sanding, just to clean all this up a little bit. The main gear doors fit quite nicely, and then the wings. It's a pretty simple aircraft. So once I get this assembled, it's just kind of wings with the gear being retracted. There isn't a whole lot of work to do. So a little bit of masking, a little bit of painting, some minor assembly work, and this is moving right along. So there you go. That is the current status, and just for shits and giggles, there's the ventral strake put into place. So that's all I'll be put on after the fact, but you get the idea. There's not much to it. It's coming right along. Don't have as much time to build as I wished, so it's taking a bit longer than I hoped, but there you go. Current status on the MiG-21. Stay tuned for the assembly.
here I am beginning the masking process for the canopies. You'll notice I oversprayed the canopy with that gray-green color afterwards to ensure that the canopy frames were the proper color, as well as ensuring that all of the puttied work had a good finish on it. So I used it sort of as a base primer before I primered.
Okay, so here we are, mid-build update. I'm just about ready to get paint done on the MiG-21. So you'll see here I got a good coat of primer on it. Everything turned out nice. I did have a couple of minor touch-ups that needed to be done. There was a few. There was a little bit of a mark here where I had. I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So yeah, here on the canopy there was a little spot from when I had clipped it off the tree. A little gouge I had to fill in. This was just a bit of a mismatch in the line because this is part of the fuselage half. There's a seam here, and then this part here is the spine. So right in this corner where the nose section of the fuselage met the rear half section of the fuselage met the spine, there was just a tiny little misstep. So I just had to clean that up a little bit. This is why you do the primer. When you have bare plastic, it's not always easy to see those little bits because you can see all of the other putties and sandings you've done, so these little tiny spots might disappear into the background. And then here on the nose again, there was just a little spot where there was a little nub from the sprue, little hole I had to fill in, and then again back here where the two halves of the spine met the rear fuselage, just needed a tiny little bit of cleanup on the step and the seam, and again along the leading edge of the tail. But either way, other than that, it turned out quite nice. Bottom, I'm not going to be too worried about the bottom. I mean, you know, there's a few spots, especially around this nose gear door, where I could really do a little bit more work, but considering it's going to be mounted on a stand, not going to see a whole lot. So on that note, it is basically ready for the paint. I'm going to be going through the instructions, figuring out what else, you know, little bits and bobs I can fit onto here before I do the paint, which would make it easier. I also want to drill the mounting hole for the stand, just to make life a little easier. It's always good to do that before you get the paint on it. So I got to get a lot ready done, and it should be ready. This might be one of the first ones I paint, just because this and the Vampire are both going to be aluminum. So I'll probably paint them at the same time, get it over with first, and then go back and do the other ones. This one I also have to do the ring here on the intake, as well as the exhaust at the back will be painted. I'm going to probably use Alclad on that, get it a nice high gloss. So I got to take care of those after. So I might get this guy painted first, get him put out of the way, and deal with the other ones later. So on that note, stay tuned. Hopefully soon you'll start seeing some paint getting applied. Okay, so here we are with the MiG-21. You've been seeing some of the work here as I'm getting the bases done. So here's the MiG-21 base. I've got the 3 coats of gloss on it, the sealer, so it's nice and shiny. And the staining is done, so that's all ready to go. So I'm going to, cut the brass rod to get that installed. And I've already went ahead and measured on the shelf how much space I need. So I've taken my brass rod, excuse me, taken my brass rod, and I've marked, you can see a little black line right there, the Sharpie mark. That's where I'm going to need to cut it. So that gives me the height I need on the shelf. I always make sure I do that so that it fits with kind of what I don't want them super long, so I'm trying to keep them at a decent height. So I have I've got my go this way, my vise here. So when I do this, I try to keep the cutting edge as close. Get the mark fixed here so you can see. Here we go. So there's the line I need to cut. I always try to keep it as close to the vise as possible to limit how much vibration is transmitted through that. So I'll get that in there. I'll get this thing cranked down. I want to go not super tight, but tight enough that there's no movement in that. And I'll get the Dremel ready here. And of course I can't find my cutting wheel.
Here you can see the aircraft painted overall silver. I used the Vallejo Model Air aluminum. I didn't use any type of metallizer or metallic paint like an Alclad. The aircraft would have been painted in an aluminum lacquer, which comes out as a more of a flattish color. So I just used straight aluminum paint, nothing too fancy. I then went ahead and masked off, and I painted the intake ring and the exhaust area with a stainless steel and then a jet exhaust overspray. Give it a bit of more of a metallic-y gray look to that area.
So here we are, quick update on the progress of this one. Everything is painted. So here's the airframe. As you can see, I've got the silver painted. I've got the, it's some light on the situation here, but better. Okay, so like I said, silver's painted. I've got the exhaust back here, as well as an intake ring painted, a Alclad metallizer. I used stainless steel, not 100% accurate, but I was going more for the contrast and color in an accurate color. At least it looks like it's you know, a different shade of metal, different type of metal used on those. I've unmasked the green, so on the tail and the nose cone has been unmasked, and I've also unmasked the lower fuselage strake. So this is the one that will eventually, when it's completed, fit underneath like that. So it's all been demasked. It's ready to go for gloss coat. So that's the next step. I'm going to get full gloss coat on this with Future, and then it's going to be decals, and then weathering, and then a flat coat. I've seen these Polish MiG-21s in the museum in Krakow. Granted, they had been sitting for a while, but when you do look at them, it wasn't a bare metal finish. It was an aluminum lacquer, which is basically sort of aluminum dust mixed with a clear lacquer, and it was painted on as a protective coat to stop corrosion. And it being a lacquer, it was dull pretty quick. So a dull coat on this. Obviously, I'll mask off the alclad, the metal at the front and the back. I don't want that to be dull. I want that to have a bit of a shine to it. So I'll Future everything except for those rings, and then I'll mask those off when I flat coat it. And I am going to give it some heavy weathering, make it look more like near the end of its career versus the beginning, so it'll be nice and dirty and used up. But so there we go. Everything's done. Everything's painted. Stay tuned for decals and weathering. Started to like sleep because she was up a lot. So like just as she started to sleep the night was when got pregnant again and it all started. I mean, eventually we can go back and just restart season 12.
Yeah. I don't know.
What I want to know is why was 130 of the 170 passengers coming to Canada? Only 60 were Canadian citizens. That's just a lot for a plane to have almost 4/5 of the airframe being all going to Canada.
Not really, because I mean, the flights going to places like that are pretty limited.
Yeah, but of the entire world, 4/5 of that one airplane leaving Tehran going to Ukraine was going to go on to Canada? Like of all the other places in the world they could have gone to?
here it is with the decaling process. You have seen I went ahead and did the gloss coat over everything, and then the decals going on. I used a mix of both the model maker, Polish markings, as well as some of the kit stenciling for some of the minor ones. And then I went ahead and gave it a very, very slight wash. I did not go crazy at all with the washing, but just enough to pick out the highlights, and then went ahead and sealed everything.
characters.
And here we go, guys. The model has been completed. You can see it turned out quite well. Looks good. Plays the part of a Polish MiG-21. Looks great on the shelf with the rest of my Polish aircraft. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for some more content. And as always, if you have any questions at all, any comments, please leave them down below. And like and subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff.
Thank you for watching, guys, and as always, if you are interested in any of the content you see, you can access my website at www.seans-aviation.com. You can see all the latest pictures of aircraft and museums and the build logs of all of my current models and past models on that site. And if you're interested in any of this content, please click the subscribe button here on YouTube to follow more. Thank you very much, and see you guys next time.